Hello everyone, you're welcome to this news hour on Equinoxe television, live from our headquarters in Cameroon's economic camp to Douala. I am Bable Jonathan. In our top stories in this news edition on Equinoxe television, several persons displaced by the Anglophone crisis, forced out of their homes by violence in the northwest and southwest regions of the country, seeking refuge in different parts of the country, lamenting, decrying their deplorable living conditions. Many of them are unable to afford for 3 square meals a day because of the difficulties in which they find themselves today as a result of the close to 6-year-long armed conflict going on in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. We shall bring to you pathetic and disturbing narratives and stories of IDPs in different parts of the Republic of Cameroon in this newscast. And 50 years after reunification, the unity of the Republic of Cameroon seriously threatened by socio-political and security tensions, particularly in the northwest and southwest regions of the Republic of Cameroon. 4 days to the celebration of National Unity Day, politicians are expressing divergent and convergent opinions on the state of the unity 50 years after reunification. And the news out of the Republic of Cameroon, humanitarian organizations are warning that 1 person is dying in 48 hours in Kenya, Ethiopia, and Somalia as a result of acute hunger provoked by climate crisis, political and security tensions, and the increasing cost of food. Stay with us. We begin this newscast in the Mbam and Kim division of the central region of the Republic of Cameroon, where hundreds of internally displaced persons are living, persons of the country, and many of them are living in precarious conditions, social needs, and the people who are living in those parts or that part of the country from the northwest and southwest regions now depending on the help they are receiving from their host community, and the help is never enough. It's very difficult for some of them to live in these precarious conditions, and we have details in this report compiled by Innocent.
In Gambe Tika subdivision, Mbaman Kim division of the Central region are also found 2 persons displaced by the Anglophone crisis.
Therefore, has here with 8 children.
She says she lives here with 8 children. 1 is sick, others have gone to school, 2 others are learning a trade, but there is no money to meet up with the demands.
We try not to go for business, not to go.
Some of the IDPs here recounts to Equinoxe television what chased them out of their villages in the crisis regions.
I'm from Kumbu. I leave my village because of the Anglophone crisis. When it started, my parents were here. I was in the village with my grandmom. We decided not to come to Ngambetika and continue schooling in Ngambetika. So that's why we left the village and come in Ngambetika. That's why I'm in Ngambetika today.
I'm from Pinyin. Before we left the place, there was too much gunshot in there. So we could not withstand it. That's why we had to migrate to Ngambe, so we can start a new life to see if we can build up again.
If they can smile today, it is thanks to the hospitality of the Ngambe Tika community.
The community, they welcome us well, and we are still appreciating them for what they did till today. And we have been living well, no issues.
There's no problem in Ngambetika. Ngambetika is a very nice place, a place to be.
Till we don't help me at the overtime.
Life in Ngambetika has been made easy for her thanks to the elites and traditional ruler.
Now because already I don't reach for here, they don't show me place, I don't get place.
With a piece of land given to her to farm, she can generate income to provide the needs of her children, especially feeding.
Farm them, they show we farm, we the work na farm for here before we manage life. And so I manage before I pay school fees for the picking them.
Though living a normal life, they miss home.
I will wait for a while so that it should be okay. When it's okay, everything is okay, so I can go back to the village.
Their greatest wish is for the Anglophone crisis to end so that they can return to their beloved villages.
And the divisional officer of Ngambetika says most of the IDPs from the Bui and Donga Mountain divisions of the northwest region of the country. According to him, 360 IDPs were recorded in Ngambetika from a census conducted in 2020, and the numbers, however, have been increasing. Now get some details on how they are managing to help the internally displaced persons to survive.
There are a lot of difficulties. When you leave your home and displaced elsewhere, you don't carry all of your household material to where you are going because of the distance. And so the issue is, like I said, accommodation, where to sleep, they need mattresses. There is a problem of the children who came with their parents. Some don't have birth certificates. Some are in school, they need didactic material, schools, books, especially school fees, which they cannot afford. Even some adults, some have national identity cards that expired long ago, and in Ngambetika we don't have an identification post, which we wish that the authorities in charge could provide for us. They cannot move because their ID cards are expired, and it's difficult for the ID cards to be established here because we don't have an identification post. So what do? For them to get a new ID card, you also need birth certificates. I know some of those adults who don't have birth certificates. And so the procedure is one that they need to go back, establish their court declaration before they can go to the council to establish birth certificates for them. The other issue is that of illness. When some of these children fall ill, it's difficult for the parents to afford money to take them to hospitals. And so you find that children are kept at home sick without means to take them to the hospital. Even if they get to the hospital, they will do the prescriptions. They may not have money to buy drugs. And so some of them who may have little money, they prefer to go to the roadsides, buy medicine which is not of good quality. Some who have farms, those who have been given farms, they also need farm inputs. You have to produce maize, maybe you may need fertilizer. How do they afford the fertilizer? You may need machetes, cutlasses, and hoes. So they need people to support them, to provide these inputs for them to be able to do their farm work. For those who are here internally displaced, what we encourage them is for them to be able to live organized lives, should be peaceful, and to be able to collaborate with their hosts who are receiving them here.
Lester, the College Divisional Officer of Ngambetika, speaking there. Now, we know that the Anglophone crisis, the socio-political and security tensions pulling on for close to 6 years today, is the major threat to the unity of the country. Today, and 50 years after reunification, the country is today more or less fragmented, according to opposition political leaders, as a result of what they qualify as poor governance and greedy intentions of some leaders of the country, starting from the top, the presidency of the republic, and some of the politicians are highlighting what they consider as a scheme of assimilation that is being implemented for these years without success. And of course, this is streaming from the intervention or interpretations of the statement made by the President of the Republic, Paul Biya, during the Paris Peace Summit, while opposition politicians are condemning and criticizing government for failing to maintain the unity of the country. Politicians of the ruling CPD and political party are laying the blame on all Cameroonians, but also highlighting some flaws in the administration of the country. Details in this report compiled from me and from Sanda.
President Njang Dennis of the Popular Action Party says the 50 years after reunification in Cameroon has been characterized by a well-carved-out agenda to assimilate and erase the Anglo-Saxon identity.
For 50 years now, it has been more of an assimilation scheme, well carved out by our French-speaking leaders to assimilate the Anglo-Saxon system. And that is why you see today, everything speaks volume of itself. The multiple crisis that is already an arms struggle in the two English-speaking zones.
Like him, other actors across the political board agree on the word division as a description to one of the most prominent features that has characterized the country 50 years after reunification. Dr. Nick Ngwanyam is of the ruling CPTM political party and an opinion leader in Cameroon.
We are very greedy. We think only about our individual selves and our tribes. We don't think of the common good, and that's where the shoe pinches. So when you see a lot of violence all over the whole place, Anglophones being angry, Bamilikes being angry, the Betis being angry, the Northerners being angry, there is no common thread of love that runs through all of us. And that is what is missing.
Young Dennis says the division is masterminded by the ruling class under an archaic and selfish system of divide and rule.
We have Sagina, we have Tontina, we have Anglophone, and all those things emanate from our poor institutional organizations headed by individuals who are being used by former colonial master, the French.
An assertion concurred by Mba Akwe Nadine, National Youth President of the UPC political party, who rather sees it on the non-emancipation of Cameroonians.
Cameroonians are not emancipated. Cameroonians are not feeling at home. Today we have Cameroonians who are saying that let us go back to the 1961 constitution, which is federalism. Some others are saying it wouldn't solve the problem. It is because we are having a quack government. We are having a government who doesn't care about Cameroonians. That is why we'll tell you that the belang of our 50 years of unity is null and void. It has no use.
While Dr. Nick Ngwanyam says the solution lies in justice, truth and love, Mba Akwe Nadine sees it in a change of regime.
Change and do what is right, what is just, and what is good.
I believe that if powers were handed to the right people, we won't have a problem.
Few days to the 50th reunification anniversary, call it the National Day in Cameroon, observers say the opinion on the evolution of a united Cameroon remain as divided as the united Cameroon.
Now to the known division in the west region of the Republic of Cameroon, where poor organization, or better still organizational flaws and financial constraints punctured the organization or the unfolding of the common entrance examination for pupils in that part of the west region. However, the examination unfolded in that part of the country, and the pupils wrote in a more or less serene atmosphere, as Malaglory reports.
Poor organization and financial constraints disrupted the smooth flow of the writing of the common entrance examination in some centers in the known division. Unlike Government High School Ibrahim Bombonjoya, where everything went on well, Government High School Baigan and Kutaba were affected by poor management.
C'est que jusqu'à maintenant, la prise en charge des différents
As of now, the financial means for the examiners are not yet available, and this causes a lot of problems. As you know, the exams needs to be prepared well ahead of time, and the means are needed to do all this. We also need to pay them at the end of the exams. The challenges affected the enrollment of the exams, as the children could be seen dispersed on the campus.
parce qu'ils confondent de salles, ils viennent nous dire qu'ils n'ont pas de nom sur la liste. Pour certains cas, on essaie de les aider à retrouver la salle. Et dans d'autres cas, quand on ne parvient pas, nous sommes obligés de les gérer autrement.
This other administrator explains that the pupils whose names are not found on the list were assembled to write in a separate classroom. This to make sure that everyone is at the same level while waiting for the situation to be fixed.
Health authorities are stepping up the fight against cholera in the country, especially in the littoral and southwest regions of the country, recording the highest number of cases. Immaculate Fokwe has more.
The littoral and southwest regions are hardest hit by the cholera epidemic in Cameroon. Latest statistics published in the month of April states that an overall 5,718 cases have been registered across the country, with the southwest region counting 4,244 cases and the littoral 1,095 cases. The rise in infections are blamed on inadequate water supply in several neighborhoods and poor environmental hygiene. In order to curb the spread, Plan International, a non-governmental organization, offers sanitary items to some families in Douala.
I would like to seize this occasion to say thank you to Plan Cameroon, and who say thank you is asking more. So I would like to ask Plan and other organizations to do the same. For us, it will permit the government, it will accompany the government to fight again pandemic.
The beneficiaries were equally schooled on how they can avoid getting contaminated.
The good thing is that we have reached about 2,500 plus beneficiaries, and the number is counting because we still have some pre-position that we are yet to distribute. But we'll be looking at the end of the day, we should be looking at 3,000 people that are benefiting from this kit. And as you already know, the contents of the kits are 10 tablets of soap, 400 grams. We have buckets, 25 liters of jerry cans, 20 liters of buckets. Then we also bought chlorine and some other PPEs to be distributed in some of the schools and health facilities.
Much remains to be done since cholera has not yet been conquered completely in Cameroon. The government is recommended to provide safe drinking water to the needy population, while locals are advised to respect hygiene rules.
The Secretary General of the Cameroon Football Federation, Didier Banlock, has resigned, and he tabled his resignation Wednesday. And of course, in that resignation, he is accusing the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Tofis, of irregularities, notably highlighted in that letter, indicating that he can no longer continue to be the scribe of the Cameroon Football Federation. And of course, the president of the Cameroon Football Federation, Samuel Etofis, he says that he has instituted a one-man management style at the helm of the federation since his election on December 11, 2021. Didier Banlock is decrying over centralization in the Cameroon Football Federation. According to him, the Cameroon's Football Federation is not yet on the right path, and Cameroon football, of course, is still not on the right path. According to him, he further wrote that the country's football will only regain its greatness when great men with ideas act with greatness in an environment that allows elevation and progress, or better still, promotion and progress. He reiterates that Fecafoot is not yet functioning in line with the manifesto Samuel Etofis unveiled when he set out to campaign for its top job, and he went further to reveal that the Etofis government will not be able to take Cameroonian football out of the trouble. What is with this manner of managing the country's football federation? Now, in news out of the country, humanitarian organizations have warned that across Ethiopia, Kenya, and Somalia, one person is dying every 48 seconds from acute hunger linked to conflict, the climate crisis, and the rising cost of food. A report by Oxfam and Save the Children estimate that around the world, 181 million people will experience crisis levels of hunger this year, with women particularly affected. And the organizations say starvation is a political failure. They criticize the international community for responding too late and with too little to prevent cyclical and predictable emergencies. Now, for greater details, take a listen to what the head of the UN Humanitarian Coordination said, and of course the East and Central African Director of Oxfam. Right, I said for greater details, take a listen to what the United Nations Humanitarian Coordination Affairs or Coordination said about the situation there. And the East and Central Regional Director, East and Central Africa Regional Director of Oxfam.
I came here because I want to try hard to get the world to pay attention to the situation here. The world's attention is wholly focused on Ukraine, which is a terrible crisis, but the suffering that we've seen here, and I've been in both places, has no equal.
What we are asking for is the resources. The resources in two elements. On one hand, like I mentioned, we have over 20 million people who are in dire need of support. And then what we are also seeing is, in addition to that, because of the continuing weather extreme events, is that there are more people that will be impacted by this crisis. So we are asking for support towards, at the moment, the figure that we have is $6 billion, the immediate support, but we also see a big need to look at some of the continued support that is needed for the region. And with that, we are asking donors, different international community members, to not divert resources, but make sure that the resources are available for the Eastern Africa region and many other crises that are impacting the continent.
Okay, Pavel.
That was the head of the United Nations Humanitarian Affairs Coordination and the East and Central Africa Regional Director of Oxfam speaking there. And this is where we draw the curtains on this edition of the news on Equinoxe Television. In a little above 30 minutes, Sergio Longotu and his guest will be yours with Equinoxe. Stay with us.
Equinoxe Télévision, au-delà de l'image, nous rendons compte.